Thank you all for coming. I know it's a holiday weekend and you probably have cabins to go to and school to get ready for. I was talking earlier about how I was watching talks preparing for this one, and there were a few that were at the University of Minnesota where I went to college, and they were given in classrooms, which I was like, that would be really cool to give a talk as a professor in a classroom. But then I showed up here, and this is absolutely beautiful and makes sense for, art. It looks like my apartment that I used to live in, so it feels like I'm home. So thank you again for coming today. I am going to be talking about ritual. I can't first talk about ritual without talking about the word routine. Because prior to 3 months ago, I thought routine and ritual were the same thing. This is a little oopsie. Thought that they were the exact same thing, used the words interchangeably. And so I had fully planned on giving this talk about going on a rant about how routine kills the creative spirit. I like to think of myself as, a free spirit, free soul, an artist, and routine just kind of kills that. So bear with me as I bring you from the journey from routine to, where we're at now, which is ritual. And we're gonna start off light and fun, and then we're gonna get a little dark, and then we're gonna bring it back around to light again. We will arrive at ritual eventually. So routine, little definition for you, is a sequence of actions regularly followed, a fixed program. Commonplace tasks, chores, or duties, as must be done regularly or at specified intervals, typical of everyday activity. Regular, unvarying, habitual, unimaginative, or rote procedure. Regular and unimaginative. Big thumbs down. And I had to get Ryan Gosling, and that's my boyfriend. It wasn't my choice. He wanted to be in it. Routine tells you to fall in line. It tells you to march to the beat of the same drummer. I get really existential with it. I like to picture aliens looking down at us from very high up in the sky as us little humans and ants go about our daily life, same thing day after day after day until we die. And maybe along that way we get to build something. Exhibit A, maybe we build a little building. On the left is a skyscraper. On the right is what aliens would build. I did do the math. It is 1,000 times bigger than what we would make, and it does look like a pyramid. That's another talk, and if you know, you know. Routine is, it's doing the same thing every single day. And to my mom, who is, she's so routine. That literally is her middle name. We routine Penny. She eats 2 great popsicles every single day. She's done this her whole life. She eats one at 8:15 and one at 8:30 every night, Sunday to Sunday. And then she watches a half hour of Friends. And then she goes to bed at 9 o'clock on the dot, not a minute later. Doesn't matter if the Olympics are on or if her next favorite episode of Friends is on, because there's a million of those every night, right? 9 o'clock on the dot, no matter what. And every once in a while, and by once in a while, I mean every few years, she might switch that snack up. And she might have popcorn instead. But she'll keep that routine for the next 3 to 4 years. I've seen her have ice cream. That was 3 years. Great popsicles. That's her thing right now. I, on the other hand, am a creative. I'm an artist. I like to think of myself as spontaneous. I'm not, but I like to think of myself as that way. I cannot be contained. I'm an ideas person, all the stuff. And my life motto has been, why do now what you can put off until later? On the surface, that might look like it's laziness or not wanting to do something, but what it really is overthinking and overanalyzing, and measure twice, cut once. For me, that's think about measuring 15 times, measure 5 times, think about cutting twice, and then finally cutting once. And what that might look like on a day-to-day basis from, the aliens looking down on me in my own personal life is, on a Thursday. So as a reference, I design movie posters for a living. I work in film and television. So let's say on a Thursday I have like a client deadline. I might start by reading a script and get done with the script and decide I need a haircut and go to the bathroom and give myself a haircut. While I'm cutting my hair, realize there's, yarn being pulled up from the rug in my studio, so I should cut that as well. Go and do that, pull out some yarn so I have something to cut tomorrow, right, to procrastinate a little bit longer tomorrow. Sit down, come up with some ideas, leave my desk, clean my Dyson with a toothbrush, very small toothbrush. Am I gonna do yoga today? I don't know, I did it yesterday. That'd be too routine of me to do it 2 days in a row. So I go back and I design a little bit more, and before pressing send, I need to make sure that all of the cans in my refrigerator are pointing the exact same direction. And then I finally press send. I lived this way, this absolute chaos of living for exactly 4 years. And I thought I was living a very creative, free spirit lifestyle. I was really living the dream. And then, last year, May 2nd, 2023, some of you may have known that Hollywood went on strike. And all of the actors and the writers were on strike for a very long time, and we all supported it. And I was not really nervous about it. I'm a prepare for the worst and hope for the best kind of person. So I had money saved and I knew I would get by just fine. And I decided to take that opportunity to, really pour myself into my art. And I kind of decided, maybe this is the universe like pushing me into the deep end, being like, this is your time to be a full-time artist. And that would, make me blow up and become a famous artist and all the things. And people would call me Katie Warhol, and I would have all this money from selling all of this artwork. It just was divine intervention. It was supposed to happen that way. So, I spent months painting and painting and painting and painting, and I sold a lot of artwork, and it was going really, really well. But, May turned to June to July. I forgot August in there. I do realize that. I'm not a writer, I am a creative. I tend to call it design dyslexia. I can't spell a word if I'm designing anything. September, October, like I said, I had planned for it, but I had planned for 6 months, and this was now going longer than that. The dollar signs I imagined in my head before are no longer, right? Money is running tight. And so now, like I mentioned at the beginning, we're gonna go through a little dark night of the soul now. We started light, a little bit of reality, but we'll bring it back light at the end, I promise. The big D is, for me, it was, dark night of the soul, or depression set in, as one would think, right? You've lost your job. For me, it was this idea of, I plan everything. I moved to LA to build a career. It was very structured. I saved and I saved money. I planned for the worst, and still I somehow ended up in a place that, the thing that I spent time building was fully taken away from me. And I just was really, really hard on myself. And also, I woke up and I was like, I'm 31, I don't have the career, I don't have a job, I've tried everything, I've exhausted all of my resources. Also, I'm single, which I needed to, that's important, because at the time it was like, I gave up relationships and things in my 20s to move to LA and to build something that in my mind was like, it's going to pay off, I will have the other thing later on. And now I was stuck with, you gave up one thing to get another, and I was there with neither. My friends and my family, they were all having babies and getting married, and I was along the ride with them, and it was so beautiful, but it felt like they were all moving forward, not on, but forward, and I was standing still. And not only standing still, I really felt like I was regressing, like I was going back, and everything, the rug had been fully pulled out from underneath my feet. And so at that time, I started going to therapy, as one might, and my therapist, told me, you've done everything, you've planned, you've tried to control all of it, and eventually you have to just give in to what is happening in life. You can't pretend it's not happening. So she's like, it's great that you built this art career for yourself outside of your job, but maybe it's time to find a hobby that doesn't have a goal attached to it. Find something that gives you happiness, that you don't have to do a certain amount of it every day. It brings you joy. And so I started reading. Like every other girl during that time, I was reading A Court of Thorns and Roses and Fourth Wing and Throne of Glass, and it opened up my world to the world of the high fae and the fairies and the magic. And this is me with all the fairies. And so I had to go inward, which I guess that's this past one here. It's like I was forced to go inside because family and friends, as amazing as they are, they can't give you the answer to your life. You have to find that on your own. And it feels like everything's burning down around you. You find out it's so that other things can start, but you do have to watch the flames and you have to see what comes after it. And so, yes, I got into magic, I guess, in some sense. And as I'm reading these stories, they sound very familiar to me. They feel ancient, and they feel, not only have they been done in film and television and other stories, but they seem very intuitive on a deep level. And it brought me to Greek mythology, which I remember studying in high school, but I didn't really, it didn't really hit in high school the way that it was right now. And so I started studying the Greek goddesses and gods and their stories of the human experience. And that brought me to kind of draw parallels to the Bible and Hindu teachings and Buddhism. And it kind of made me realize that these myths through time were not really myths. They were just stories, so us little human mortals can find a way to get through the pretty awful seasons of life. And it's not a unique experience that I had. It's something that people have had since the very beginning of time. And these stories are told to get us through. I learned of Persephone. She is the goddess of the underworld, and Farah in A Court of Thorns and Roses was inspired by her, allegedly. Kuan Yin, she is a Buddhist goddess, goddess in Buddhism, and she draws a lot of similarities to Mother Mary in the Bible. And so I decided that I was going to start meditating. I wanted to open up my world on a very deeper level to the wisdom of these gods, goddesses, deities, spirit, the universe, quantum mechanics, quantum physics, mathematics, whatever you want to call it. I wanted to open my heart up to what it had to say. So every day I started meditating, and not in the headspace meditation kind of way, but in a real spiritual practice. And I showed up every day, the same candle, the same smelling candle, the same music, the same spot at my apartment, and let whatever happens, happens. And on the outside, that would maybe look like I had a routine. The thing that I said at the beginning was the bane of my existence. And through having that routine, the routine became habitual, and that routine then became ritual. And so it brings me to, the real definition of what ritual is, which is a religious or solemn ceremony consisting of a series of actions performed according to a prescribed order. And if we go back to those aliens that are watching me in my apartment every day, they're seeing me do the same thing every day on the outside with my cute little candle and my sitting down and like, very structured. But that can be seen on the outside, but what was happening on the inside was ritualistic. And it made me realize that ritual is something that cannot be seen, it can only be felt. And so, this talk could have gone into exactly what I feel and what I experience when I have ritual. Given the beautiful illustration that was done, it probably should have been. I did think about showing up in like a dark cloak and a candle and doing the whole thing, but we need to get to know each other a little bit better. I think the journey to finding ritual is just as important as the ritual itself, because had I not gone through everything that I did, I wouldn't have ended up with this thing that I do now that gets me through all of the seasons of life. And it's taught me that routine is not an enemy, it's actually my ally. If I want my inner world to be calm and at peace, my outer world actually has to be very structured. And vice versa. If I want my outer world to be structured, my inner world has to be calm and at peace. If you have a routine, you are not just another brick in the wall. That's a Pink Floyd reference for anyone that doesn't know. It doesn't make you regular or unimaginative. It actually sets the framework for you to find ritual and become very special and very imaginative, especially when everything familiar to you is burning down around you. And so that to say, for a very long time, my art practice genuinely was a means to an end. I was showing up because I had a goal attached to it. I wanted to become this famous artist, and I say famous only because in the art world, if you want to make money, you have to have some sort of recognition. And I did want it to be the way that I live my life, and I wanted it to fund my life. And now that's kind of gone, and art itself has become ritual to me. For the first time in my life, I've been painting since I was 16 years old, and I enjoy it, and it's meditation now. And it's become so much deeper. So I've been forced to show up and paint my feelings and my emotions, which is very scary for me, even talking about my feelings and emotions. And I paint, if you follow me, you've probably seen, I paint a lot of sneakers, and I paint a lot of things in pop culture that would be recognizable. And it's a little bit of a cop-out, because it's of course you're gonna like it because you're familiar with it. Now I have to be vulnerable, and I have to show up, and I have to just paint from a place of feelings. I have to find the magic in what I'm doing every day. And so routine, it's helped me a lot, and it helped me to find ritual. And life is very hard, but it's all going to be fine. And I have my 2 great popsicles, my version of that. And the great popsicles even made me believe in fairies, and I really do believe in fairies. I'm not kidding. And so I do hope that this will inspire you to find your own ritual in your life and take you on a journey. And so every day I read something as a reminder, and so I hope it resonates with you in some way. As above, so below, as within, so without, as the universe, so the soul. Thank you.